But now I don't see those cobbles and curbs. I don't hear the blues anymore.
Rough Trade is giving away a third of the first 3 months of the Rough Trade Club plus new music membership exclusively to 101 Part-Time Jobs listeners. Become a member of Rough Trade Club New Music and you'll receive the Rough Trade Album of the Month straight to your door every month on exclusive vinyl pressing with exclusive bonus material. Club members have received exclusive pressings of albums from Sufjan Stevens, Sprints, The Last Dinner Party, Julie Byrne, and Over Mono, just to name a few, this past year alone. Sign up using the promo code CLUB101POD and you'll get the Rough Trade Album of the Month, English Teacher's excellent debut album, This Could Be Texas, on exclusive Galaxy Gold for a third of the usual price. Here's English Teacher on a recent episode of 101.
How many opportunities do you get to write a debut album and have all of this, sport behind us? I don't know, I really like the idea of holding the bar as being like classic songs.
You only get one shot at a debut.
Don't want the album of the month but still want all the benefits? Sign up to the standard tier using Club 101 Pod and you'll still get the first month free. You'll also get free shipping on all orders, 10% off the bar and on secondhand vinyl in-store, and exclusive access to sold-out Rough Trade events. So don't hang around. Go to roughtrade.com/club and sign up with the code CLUB101POD. That's CLUB101POD and claim money off the album of the month, English Teachers This Could Be Texas, today. This offer's available to UK residents only. Do you play in bands? I did for the longest time. And I wish that I knew that DistroKid was a thing. I don't even think it existed back then. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. When you get DistroKid, you can see a DistroKid bank and withdraw your earnings. You get notified when you've earned royalties and you can withdraw via the app. And you can even check your streaming stats on Spotify and Apple. Get 30% off your first year on DistroKid by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. 30% off for your first year. That's not bad. We know it's a tough world out there. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? And to get 30% off that free year as an artist, where you get 100% of your royalties and earnings, go to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. All right, stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
The Vietnam War, it's over. Your job has just begun.
A new HBO original limited series.
Welcome to the world of spycraft. Strap in.
From executive producers Park Chan-wook and Robert Downey Jr.
What are you concealing?
Based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Viet Thanh Nguyen.
What if I told you that I was a communist spy?
How did you become this?
The Sympathizer, streaming April 14th on Max. Subscription required.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right there, you're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. It's the podcast where I speak to bands and artists and try and get some good stories from their time playing music. It's a time to reflect on what they've been up to, what they've done, and where they're going, where they're headed. And on today's episode, I'm speaking to Gavin, Rossdale of Bush. Since the early 90s they've been going. They're just about to release their new compilation best of album, Loaded, which comes out tomorrow. I didn't know what quite to expect when I was speaking with Gavin. As far back as I can remember, Gavin Rossdale and Bush has been a name I've been hearing in my family and around. And I thought doing this it'd be quite funny to speak with him because he's a star. You know, it's not the usual conversation that you have with someone who's hosted The Voice or he's been in the light of famous. He's been in LA famous, you know. So hey, I'm psyched that he came on. I'm psyched that I got the chance to speak with him. And really, this is me speaking to him as a person who writes songs for his bands, connects with fans, and spends a lot of time thinking about all that stuff. That's at the core of what 101 Part-Time Jobs is about. We're hearing from people, humans of planet Earth, making records, touring the world, and how they make that stuff work for them. So cheers, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe. If you can leave a review, that would be amazing. That helps so much on the algorithm and helps me get up the podcast charts. We're a small team here doing something that we think is cool. Thank you so much for being part of it, and I want us to grow together. 2000 Trees Festival in Cheltenham, just a few hours away from London, supports the show. They've just announced their mammoth lineup for next year. The Gaslight Anthem are headlining, Creeper have been announced, Manchester Orchestra, Lambrini Girls, Gouge Away, Hot Mulligan, Boston Manor, The Mysterines. Oh, if you like Bush, you'll love The Mysterines. Loads of great bands at 2000 Trees this year. If you want to go, tickets right now are the cheapest they'll ever be. If you order before the end of the year, you can get a full refund if you find out that you can't in fact make those dates. Money is tight right now for a lot of people. Planning ahead is hard. 2000 Trees are a brilliant independent festival that give the power to the people going. You know, I think they realise they're booking the lineup from what people love. The people running the show are very, very welcome to feedback from the people who have gone there in the last few years. 2000 Trees, get your tickets from 2000trees.co.uk. I've been to 2000 Trees heaps of times, and it's such a special feeling there. Look, I know they're helping, I know they're part of the podcast, but I really mean this when I say it. It's one of the best rock festivals I've ever been to, and it's completely independent. 2000 Trees Festival, if you're looking for a festival to go to next year, 2000 Trees could be the one. Before we get into this chat, I've got Rebecca from Eka and also Ampolo here. Ampolo is the first all-in-one app connecting a global community of musicians to practice, record and collaborate. And there's some new features coming on there, aren't there, Rebecca? You can start making money as an artist. Other artists can remix your songs. What's going on over there?
It's quite exciting. You've heard it here first, but there'll be a place within the app where you as an artist can sell your track and people can get creative with it. So it's a new revenue stream for artists, so it's very exciting. A good thing to do right now is to create a profile, get sharing and be there at the beginning.
All right, and Polo, download it now. Here's Gavin Rossdale on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Cheers. 101 Part-Time Jobs.
What memories of, when I was just leaving school and I wanted to do music. So any job I did, I wanted to be really sure that I literally had no future in it. Because I didn't want to be valuable. Because I thought if I was going to be valuable to anyone, get seduced into the idea of getting a job would seem a nightmare. So all my jobs are part-time that I had basically, a few different part-time jobs and none with any future. The one where I had the most future was I did work in a cafe in Shepherd's Market for a little bit, working there. And I suppose if I'd got my shit together, I could have made it a sandwich maker because I just made coffees and cleaned up and stuff like that. Yeah. It's a lovely little I don't know if you know Shepherd's Market area. It's really nice. Yeah. Lovely little oldie worldy. And of course, what was really nice about there is that they had lots of prostitutes there in the buildings there. So there'd be like the red lights, the models, all that stuff. So they'd all come. So nothing beats to having making a cappuccino for the ladies of the night in the morning. That was always felt the frisson of that. And what I used to do as well is I'd take the pastries home and I'd walk back to my place. So the pastries didn't sell. And I remember there'd be these bunch of winos hanging out on the way home. And one time I dropped all these, a whole bag of stuff we weren't using. And this guy woke up and he looked at me, he had this special brew, and he looked at me like, you've got 4 teeth. And he goes, we're drinking, man. We're drinking, man.
Did you enjoy it back then? Did you feel at home back then? Would you imagine that you would have moved over to the States and the West Coast at that point in your life?
No, I literally I need that because of my kids. I never would have moved here. And in fact, before we had kids with my then wife, the plan always was to live in London. It was always to live in London. And then what happened is as soon as she got pregnant and she wanted to see a doctor, she went to the first meeting with her mum, and that was it. Like, we're staying in LA. I was like, okay, well. So yeah, I never had any intention. I just was back in London last week. It's difficult. I don't know if I would have. I miss London a lot. I have all my friends there, my family, my house, everything. So I moved for love like an idiot. And I'm still here now because of my kids. I would never leave them for them.
What about music and writing? Did you feel that you've been writing differently since you moved over? And
it's Rainer Maria Rilke, right? Letters to a Young Poet talks about how you should be able to write anywhere. So my location doesn't change anything. I'm definitely not one of those because I write rock music, so I'm hardly one of those ones who I wandered lonely as a cloud. I don't need like a great vista in order to write. I must go to Tuscany, else my career is doomed. There'll be no light. It really worked like that.
The early 90s, in a lot of books that are coming out now by people who have lasted this long in music, whether they're a promoter or a booker or playing in a band. The early 90s, especially in West London at that time, seems so exciting, so vibrant. It seemed like there were kind of opportunities all the time to make something, to create and to build your own world.
It was a great time. And my favorite thing about that time compared to now is that it was much less fragmented and the world was much more connected. So, I just thought, you get a shitty review someone, everybody read it. Now people you got a record out.
Works both ways.
That's the difference. So it's a bit sad. I fucking saw this guy. I love him, but what a guy. I saw him the other day. He goes, blah, 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 he's doing this and that, doing that. And he goes, you still doing music? It's like, but he just can't help it. Like, he's a late 40s photographer, goes on the road with the Chili Peppers. So he's in a bubble, just filming this Chili Peppers and the Strokes. So he's myopic as it is, but it's just funny how you just you have to accept that people just don't know what you're up to for the most part. Only people that really care about rock music will know that I've been touring and bringing out records and doing all that. This guy's a friend of mine, likes me, doesn't know the first thing about that, but it's just so you miss that common ground that you couldn't avoid in the 90s.
So that is something that can potentially follow you around. I mean, I think for when you're first writing songs and it's the first album or the second album, and I imagine a lot of bands are feeling like there's something to prove. I mean that feeling of having something to prove, or that urge, that tension, I suppose, has that kept with you? Do you think?
Well, the thing is that I've had the benefit of so much time doing this that I've known when times have been successful. I know when times when it's been challenging and things haven't worked as well. And it's the biggest revelation. Is funny because doing these interviews over the last few days, or whatever, you learn stuff. And what I've realised is that it's not like I take it more seriously. It's that I don't think I'm as good as I thought I used to be. So it means I'm much more careful to rework my songs and rework my craft. And I think that's definitely to do with the fact that, do you know what I mean? What am I going to make? 5 more records? Am I going to make 5 more records? It seems a lot. So am I going to make 3 more records? So I don't know. So therefore, they've got to be fucking really, really good. My standard has to be so high. And I've been doing it now recently. I've never done it yesterday. I was working on new songs. And I literally took 2 of the new songs that I really love. And when I played them, and I redid the beginning verse of both songs. I've never done that. I was like, you know what? It's just not that fucking good. It's not. Just fucking redo it. As soon as I did it, I was like, thank God for that. And I think back in the day when I had no concept about the horizon and, oh, look, if you fuck this up, no one's going to listen to your record. If you fuck this up, you're not going to get on radio. You fuck this up, you're not going to get the shows. I wasn't as strict with myself. And that strict behaviour just comes from the fact, well, look, mate, Let's say you're not going to have 5 more records. So every time you make a record, make sure it's really, really, really high quality. And so that's what's given me this thing that I'm not tailing off. I'm not going to make records where it's like diminishing returns, where by the 3rd album that's kind of diminished returns of excitement, intrigue, interesting lyrics, whatever you'd say. It's not going to happen. I'm going to go out in fire, in flames. Like, the records will be amazing. Like Black Star, Bowie, that Black Star record was genius. It was one of his favorite records he's made. Released on a Monday, Friday, birthday on the weekend, died on a Monday, right?
Wild, isn't it? I mean, it's so freeing, that record. And I imagine that's a feeling that we're all trying to pursue.
Yeah.
Right? To be like, I want to do something that makes me feel fucking good. I want to capture that lightning in a bottle feeling every time, that's challenging, right? That's the.
But he's such a great benchmark. Whenever I'm writing a song and I'm in a certain section and I think, am I done on it? I just take any Bowie song, any lyric, 4th verse of a Bowie song, boom, is it as good as that? You know what? It's fucking not. So just get this a bit tastier. So he's a great benchmark for me.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Bush are a band that people will follow across countries. You've got a legacy. Does that take the pressure off, knowing that you could put out a song that's fine, it's okay? I mean, you can tour. I mean, you can have that side of it fine. People are always going to see you live. But in terms of writing, is the pressure off there a little bit?
No, it ups the ante. Like, I made that better yesterday, those songs, so that so I won't let you down. Like, it would be crushing for me to put out a song that some Bush fans are like, what about the early funny stuff? Let's play that. That's the where we're at. Do you know what I mean? It's like, there's always that thing. It's no difference what they say about my kids. Oh, do you write these songs about your kids? And I was like, it doesn't really work like that. Well, how it works, is they've got big opinions and I just don't want to suck. I want to make a record that if any of their friends are playing them at their own school, they can't come into them and say, oh yeah, I heard your dad's record. It's a shame they really kind of like tailed off, didn't they? Remember when they were really good? Like, that would be the worst.
It'd be gutting.
Yeah, so I mean, I know I might lose. People might say it's too heavy for me, but I don't care about that, because that's just like it's just exciting to be exciting. But so if people don't get into that I can understand. But in terms of like quality, intrinsic connections to a song, intrinsically lyrics that people connect to, all those factors that have been my weapons of mass love, things that have got people to like me, is that consistency that I've always written the same way. You can take us 30 years of, it's funny because I'm writing lyrics now and it's not like you ever run out of words. I used to think when I was younger, I was like, what if you run out of words? What if you nothing else to say? You dry up. People talk about that, but it's like, it's never been like that for me. I've always got like funny, obtuse things. And by the way, there's been days where I write a pile of shit lyrics and they're no good. I go, oh well, there'll be better ones along tomorrow. Just ignore that. Use it they're placeholders and they're going to get replaced. Don't sweat it. And the next day I come in and I just put, much better words on those words. And so everything makes sense, and often it can just be a stepping stone to things.
Has that been a journey of coming to that peace? I mean, I imagine when you've been doing it for, let's say a decade for the sake of this, and you get to that point, you're like, this is my job, this is what I'm doing, there's this symbiotic relationship of love between us and our fans and, with the songs that I'm writing. does there come to a point where you have to try different ways to find that mystery, to put yourself in different environments, to keep pushing it forward?
Yeah, I mean, all the time I'm trying to sort of make myself uncomfortable and provoke myself into some reaction that yields a great lyric. You know what I mean? Like what's it gonna be? And there's always like a certain phrase that I need to unlock, and I might have to write a whole paragraph and then suddenly start to motor when they kind of get rid of the funky, no good lines. They're just a stepping stone into it. And I just love that. I mean, words are magical, and there's just no end. I love to read good writers, good, non-fiction is really great to read. I'm reading the Jan Wenner, the Rolling Stone book, which is fucking unbelievable. And annoyingly, he's a very good writer. I was hoping to hate him.
The thing I love about biographies, and actually this is a good one, because it was he was the editor of Loaded, and James Brown, he wrote this book called Animal House, and it's his autobiography of becoming a journalist and then making Loaded his magazine. And I realized after reading that, I felt so galvanized. I was so psyched to create and make something, including this podcast, because I thought, and I realized in that moment, I was like, these autobiographies and these non-fictions, they are kind of proof of concept of other people's. And that is a very fucking powerful thing.
Yeah. Well, it means you're alive. It's just sort of validation. It's just fun to be creative and fun to make things. And, I'd like to read that book, actually.
I mean, another one I read recently was the Matthew McConaughey book, and he took this mad trip to India or Asia and then South America. Have you taken sort of inspirational trips? Is that something that's on your radar as well as reading?
I need to be better on that. I should have done that, more of that. I said many times about how even in my downtime away from Bush, I wasn't going on the spiritual odysseys. I was just trying to write songs, and I was annoyingly, I was an idiot. I should have gone to live in Bali for a year. I should have done this and that, but I was always, at that point I had I was in a relationship, so I think I was married a lot of the time, so it's like, no, I've never done that. Like when I had all the time in the world and no money, I didn't travel. And now it's weird because I don't take enough vacations. I've never taken a vacation, for example, without my kids. But I haven't had them for 7 years. I've just had them half the time. I should have gone with my girlfriend on a couple of really fucking, I'm just stuck in always working, always creating, always pushing forward, and that. So no, I've made mistakes on that. I should have done that more. I should, and I will.
I mean, I'm bad with it. Quite often I'll be doing things and my girlfriend will be like, you haven't even thought about something for us, and that's kind of one example. I think there is you just pout, especially now with life moves so quicker, and it moves quicker and quicker, it feels like. And so to put these kinds of things in your diary, these kind of reminders to do something, that's the good help of an online calendar. We've just got sort of 5 or 10 minutes left, Gavin, but I just wanted to ask, what do you think? This is a big old fucking question, I think, so feel free to tell me to do one. But I mean, with this greatest hits record, Loaded, there must have been some time of reflection. I mean, one thing I love to hear about artists, and you don't get it all the time in other magazines or other radio shows all the time, but the kind of the biggest lessons that you've learned, the biggest kind of, maybe it was like a small, fairly innocuous thing that happened, but it kind of reframed the way you see writing songs or Bush or everything you're doing. I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, but when I say that, are there any particular times over the last 28 years that you really think of the turning point in your life of writing songs?
I mean, I've given my entire life to it. I've given my entire life. Like, when I'm dead and gone, that's outside of my children, that's my legacy. And I remember walking to work after I lost that first distribution deal, and I have the image of a double-decker bus for some reason down there in the West End next to where I was painting. And I just remember thinking that it's all about the legacy for some reason. So I think I wanted to make a legacy. To me, was if I was going to devote my life to being a writer of songs, then every time I made a record, it would be a legacy. In terms of turning points, I think it's weird because it's just that slow, applied tourniquet that I've had on myself that have just meant that every great word I'm forced to write down or to remember, every great turn of phrase. I'm a servant to the art of songwriting. Every fucking thing that I like, I make notes of. And I have all these... so it's just a sort of lifelong obsession with books that I've read and with side notes of phrases I liked. So as opposed to, I'm just trying to get to the point where it's not a penny dropping kind of seismic moment. It's a steady applied pressure of how I define myself. And when I don't write songs and I don't apply myself and I don't write things, I start to feel vocationally unclean and vocationally fraudulent, that I'm not actually, you're having a nice time doing this and that, A, B, and C, but have you applied yourself? I got this wonderful lesson from a friend of mine's dad, Leslie Brickus, back in the day. And I got advice off two friends' dads. Leslie Brickus' advice. He's a lyricist, and he wrote the but a goody day. So he wrote the Roald Dahl lyrics for that, for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And he had this thing where he lived, I met him, he lived either in a house in Acapulco in January, then he'd live in London for the spring, south of France, above the Column d'Or for the summer. And then the winter, then they come to LA. And so I'd never met people who did this, like the jet set. We call us growing up to the jet set. It's like starred. It was fucking brilliant. I never went there. I wasn't in the jet set. I just knew that existed. It's all people, rich people in like ski suits they weren't going skiing in. And so he said to me, and where I'd see him, so I'd see sometimes if I was south of France, I was there, I'd see him because I knew his son. Every morning he'd write from 9 to 12 every day, right? Then he'd go off and he'd take his wife to the fucking beautiful lunch in the south of France or LA or whatever, go to drink Chateau Lafite with his friends up in Bel Air. And he taught me that big lesson. And then this other friend of mine's dad said to us when we were kids and just taking drugs and going out to clubs, we want to be musicians. And he goes, don't forget that Tin Pan Alley, they're open 9 to 5 days a week. That's what they do. So those two bits of advice, my friends' fathers, I never got advice. My dad was a very hands-off dad. So that's the only real advice I got in my life. The rest is feral. That's the only two pieces of advice I was given, and I took. Yeah. And I took them to heart. And what that meant was this is an incremental, daily practice. And obviously there are days I don't do it, but it just means that sewage builds up. I'm clean. I'm not being myself. I'm not fulfilling my vocation. I'm being lazy. I'm sort of, there's people, life owes me a living. I've never been that. I don't come from a rich family. I was provided for. I had a roof and I had food, but there's no money. I didn't didn't get money to buy stuff. So I'm completely self-made. And I think when you're self-made, you want to keep the fires burning. But creatively, that's been my life. And so there's been no. Fugazi spoke about a steady diet of nothing. For me, steady diet of apply yourself to what your work is. And that's my opposite of what any seismic watershed moments. Just that steady push.
That's brilliant imagery. Thanks so much, Gavin. I mean, I think, especially now, I'm in my schooling, there was this idea, people were going off to Australia and South America and all this kind of idea that you could do everything. That's put a lot of pressure, I think, on a lot of people today. The pressure being, well, I need to choose one thing to do. I guess you try and hope that you lean into various things that you enjoy, and then those things make themselves become apparent.
Yeah, it's really tricky, and it was a big dilemma for me of what to do with my life. And I don't know why I had this like blind arrogance to assume that I could write songs and have a life doing this, because the best part about it is that I was so ignorant. I didn't know that there was a potential. I just pushed forward, It's so brilliant. It's like it's the embodiment of youth pushing forward to a place that I didn't even know existed. It's fucking Kafka. It's amazing.
Awesome. Gavin, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Nice one. All the best. Have a good day.
So there was Gavin Rossdale from Bush here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Loaded. Their best of is coming out tomorrow. Thank you for listening to this chat. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe to the show. We've got some great guests coming up. Always, if you leave a review or rate it on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening to this, that would be massively appreciated. Thank you for any of yous who are able to do that. I'll see you soon.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.